Welcome back, everyone, to our next recap of episodes 5 and 6 of Survivor Sahara Dunes Dynamic Character Productions. I am your host, Alex Trias, and I'm here today with two production members. Our first production member, you are the reason why we are on here right now. She owns the Zoom. It's Carrie. Carrie, how are you doing?
Hi. I thought
he did a switcheroo. He did a switcheroo.
I know, because McKenna's the reason why we're all here because of all the editing.
I have a preamble for her.
Yes, I own the Zoom. That's correct.
Did you enjoy the episodes this week?
I did. Thank you.
And our other guest, she does too much for this channel. Editor, hosts the minis. Helps co-host the exit interviews with Lilly. It's McKenna Feeney. McKenna, how are you? How did you enjoy the episodes that you edited?
I think they're pretty good. But yeah, I loved some of the gameplay that was being had in these two episodes. It's the merge. It's always a big scramble to try and see what alliances stick and what don't so I'm ready to break these down with you, Alex.
Yeah, so we see two people go out here. One a threat in the game, a big personality, and one a social enigma. So very two different stories that we're telling here. But first we'll start with episode 5. I would want to get her out. So we start with Robbie, and Robbie's sort of just like rehashing what just happened. He couldn't believe that they actually got everyone to go to Rocks because he was sure like Maddie was going to be realize what he was doing, because he had a lot of respect for Maddie as a player. And so he just assumed she knows I'm sus right now and just trying to save my own ass. And she's going to vote against me. I'm going to go home. But she didn't. We went to Rocks. I got saved. Unfortunately, she went out, which sucks because she was my number one in the game. So I don't know what's going to happen next. Q2, everyone in the room, congratulations. Drop your buffs. We are merged at final 10. Ngombe tribe, which I like the spelling of it. I like having the little dash in the name and everything. It's the
African.
Authentic.
It's the African name for cow. So yes. inside scoop on the tribe names, Damu and Maziwa are milk and blood, and then Ngombe is cow, in reference to Linda Spencer's famous challenge win in Survivor Africa with the blood and
So gross.
If you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch this.
McKenna can send you a picture of it. She sends it all the time in our group chats. I'm not thrilled about it, even though I love Linda Spencer.
It's saved in my phone. Do you need me to pull it up for the viewers?
No.
Do you need me to?
No.
I can get it.
We're good. We're gonna move forward. So you know what?
In the middle, like.
Oh yeah. Thanks, Carrie. It's right here.
Also, just like for clarity's sake, for people who don't recognize it, because like we had blue and yellow for our tribes for Damu and Mizawa. Ngombe white.
Ngombe is white.
First time I've ever seen a white buff.
Well,
probably the only time. As the person who creates the wikis, it gets a lot more weird whenever I look and just see white space instead of colors. But it's different. It's unique. But it's time to talk about the challenge. It's knockout trivia. Self-explanatory. You're getting asked Survivor questions, and two people go at a time. First two people selected by wheel, so that it's fair. If you get it wrong, or you just don't answer, you're out. If you get it right, or the other person gets it wrong, you move on. Yeah. A lot of these questions, I think like the typical average fan would know. I agree with Alanis, though. I will never rember a tribe name.
I love tribe names.
I know you do, McKenna. I know you do.
I created the questions. There was only one tribe name question. There could have been so many more, so be thankful there was only one.
Yes.
I think I knew most of these.
Well, you were part of the production meetings where we went through them.
True.
You've heard these questions multiple times at this point.
Yes,
I know,
but-
because I'm sitting there and I'm like, if I know these answers, everybody should know these answers. So I'm like, hold on a second.
I mean, T there. But not only was this a challenge to win individual immunity, it was a challenge where they could also win individual reward. McKenna, how about you talk about that little relationship here so that we can do our shameless plug?
Yes, I love Vintage Survivor Store. I have many a buff from them. They sell vintage Survivor buffs from the older seasons. And they're just great partners that we have. They have given us trivia game coupon codes as well. So I reached out to them for our mini, and they lovingly gave us a coupon code for the winner of this challenge. But if you're watching this recap, go to Vintage Survivor Store. They are awesome. Their buffs are really high quality, and they also have other paraphernalia as well: t-shirts, shot glasses, trading cards, etc., etc.
And that's awesome. So like, I highly recommend anyone who is becoming a Survivor fan or is already a diehard, but you want to be able to have this stuff, check the store out. Even if you don't get something, it's good to know that it's a place that exists and it does have really good quality stuff. So with this round, I'm not going to go into the nitty gritty details of all the questions, and who got out when. Victoria constantly getting picky. This is a very recent a coming of age Survivor fan due to forced by McKenna.
No, she was not forced by me. She was
sure.
Yes, she found Survivor via pandemic on Netflix and then just gave it a shot after me being like the Survivor nut for years now and like talking about Survivor, like whatever. Now she finally gave it a chance, and then she messaged me like, I wonder how I would do. And I was like,
yeah.
She's doing pretty good. Ask.
She's doing pretty good. She's made it past 6 votes now.
Yeah,
survived the wheel by being voted for. So she's getting a full experience.
She survived a couple rounds in trivia because people got answers wrong.
Yes. So I was going to get
her
there.
In this game. I think she's
great. It's for the most part, it's a very likable cast. I'm enjoying the characters that we are getting this season. But with this challenge in particular, like there's 9 rounds, so 9 questions. Of those 9 questions, only twice was the answer answered correctly. So
I got a message from Mr. Kyle Durrett from last week's recap, and he was like, I'm ashamed at everyone because he has participated in a bunch of our trivia games and he's really good at Survivor trivia, and he's just like, man, these people, good thing I'm not on this recap.
I mean, like the 10-second shot clock for these would get to me eventually if I was going through this challenge. Like, I would say I have a good general sense of knowledge. I'm more of like, I watch the seasons and I watch them more so for the strategy of it all and characters. I don't really notice as much like, like, oh, on this specific episode, this specific action happened, so this happened. So it's like that stuff, it would take me time to really. So
well, you just have the 10 seconds to buzz. We never actually limited the thinking side of things. So
yes, you're right. But the real story out of all this is Robbie's strategy of going and saying, okay, I know there's a shot clock right now, so I'm going to just tell the other person I am not answering. So you're like essentially he's forcing the other person into a situation all 3 times that he competed in this. You're either going to have to guess incorrectly. You can guess correctly, but if you don't know, you're most likely guessing wrong, or you could just eliminate both of us. Which got me thinking, because overall, like you see, I think that's another factor into what it ultimately led to Robbie's vote out in episode 6, but we're focusing on episode right now. If I was Danny at the end, because it ultimately ends up being Danny versus Robbie at the end, I wouldn't have answered. If I did not know, I was not going to answer, and I would have either played a game of chicken with Robbie, essentially. Like, okay, let me actually see what you will do if I don't put my hand up either. I will let Lauren and McKenna count down to 0, and no one wins immunity. and then let's see what happens. Because right now, people aren't too thrilled with your strategy.
Well, yeah, me too. I would have taken him down with me. Like, I wouldn't just hand him the immunity if I don't know the answer.
But they did.
Danny shocked me with that question, and it took me a couple seconds to think about what the right answer would be, because I thought about it and was like, if I just ask another question, they're just gonna sit there again.
Yeah.
Because this cast didn't know trivia, so like.
Yeah. Ultimately, I think that's the correct decision to make. There is, if we are setting a precedent where every single round you are doing this, if you both of you are refusing to respond, you're both out. If it's the last question, they both don't know, you're both out. What happens next? Well, everyone's out. No one wins immunity. Immunity it's kept by McKenna and Lauren for the next round.
McKenna gets immunity.
Yes, you get immunity. But essentially, I feel like the strategy there would be to play chicken then. If you do not know it, and you already know Robbie is refusing to, you then you don't even show an attempt to put your hand up. Just stare, blank wall right in front of you, just like,
yep.
Like I would not have been like John, who was just like, come on, you need to answer. You need to answer, even though like Robbie is not going to answer. I even at John's spot, I almost feel like I really don't know. Please answer. Okay, fine. We can both go out.
Yeah.
But like kudos to Robbie for having it work, because I do feel in most situations it should not work. But it's also just due to the fact that I think Robbie did think about this, is people don't want that. Like, people don't want the instance where it takes out both of them. So they're like, I'm just going to have to put it in my own hands, put a random shot in the dark. Hopefully I get it right. And they all got wrong. So like in that way, he successfully figured out what this cast would do. So I had to give him his props there.
Yeah, for sure.
And I feel like it really ticked people off though.
But we hear from Robbie and the exit. The exit just dropped on Saturday night. So if you haven't watched it, I do recommend you listening to it. It gives you good insight on Robbie's decision making throughout the game and sort of where he felt he was. And like we know now, he didn't really feel like he was in a great spot that round period. Like he thought if he was if he had not won immunity, he would be the one going home, because he felt people weren't going to talk to him, or people weren't talking to him. The only people he had a really good connection with was Maddie and a little bit of Alanis, but Maddie was gone. So now, and you don't know what happened on the new Damu tribe, which they all became a big cohesive unit because they got to have a round after the flip to get everyone back together.
Yes. Carrie, this is like a first for the recaps, because you're in the scramble rooms with the winners. How does that impact like their games and like meshing together? Does it like more than going to tribal, because like your alliances are tested going to tribal, but you get time to talk and chit chat?
Yeah, it's interesting because when you're in the winners scramble, no one talks about anything of meaning. It's Chipotle or, what are our plans for tonight? Like there's really no, I mean, I'm sure you can build alliances off of Chipotle or whatever, but no one's strategizing. They're just hanging out.
I think it's a hard thing because, and you hear it from players all the time, is everyone's afraid to be the first person to make the move when you're safe. Because when you're safe and you do it, it then just leaves an open target if you don't pull like a majority with you to have a conversation to be like, oh, he's trying to, shake up the status quo. He or she's the next person to go then. Because now he's playing the game.
Right.
That's a threat. So it's like very much what's weird with these games is especially in minis, is it becomes almost like just generally the Boston Rob buddy strategy of no one leaves the shelter.
Yeah.
Everyone stays together, holding hands, singing Kumbaya, even though you all don't believe it, but you're forced to.
Yeah.
And because you spend so much time doing that, because each round, like a scramble round plus a tribal, you're together for about like 30 to 40 minutes just there. But it gives you plenty of time to get together and be cohesive. So, and that's sort of what we see here eventually between just we see Damu come together, and they do say Robbie's a threat, Robbie's a manipulator, Robbie's a liar. Like they're like Victoria and Sean are sort of like rehashing what just happened, as like everyone's starting to rehash what happened during the swap rounds. Like why did the flip happen and Landon go, and why did they go to rocks? It's interesting. And like I loved John's reaction when he heard they went to rocks, because literally the episode before he was like, it's stupid to go to rocks in the pre-merge, I would have flipped. And then here's that both tribes like just stuck together, whereas you have this new Damu, like we sort of like each other. Like you hear it from Danny first, but you then start hearing it from the rest of them as well. You hear from Kylie. It's like Danny feels very good with Kylie and John, because they're like double pre-merge with each other, because they were together on Maziwa and they were together on Damu. But he also feels very good with Michael and Erik. Michael because he flipped, and Erik because they just started to build a good connection. Erik comes off as trustworthy, so they want to be a 5. So that already fractures just tribal lines, but it doesn't show tribal lines because Maziwa all comes together like, let's vote out Sean. Old Damu comes together like, let's vote out Sean. So it's like you're doing this big vote without necessarily like showing your hand to Alanis and Robbie that like, oh no, we want to vote out Sean because like we have other things.
Yeah. I was surprised that it ended up being unanimous.
I was too, because like we don't really get a clear picture as to what ultimately, like we know Jordyn at episode says like, I figured out this was what was going to happen. They told me I didn't have the numbers to change it, so I rolled with it. I assume Victoria was a similar instance because we don't really get like a true opinion on her going with like why she would go with Sean. We just know that, oh, she was in a room for a good bit with John.
And I really liked Victoria when she came into the room and she was like, why?
I do like that because
so many people, you throw out a name and everyone's like, yeah, okay. And she was very much like, okay, but why?
I like that, especially because like her being new to Survivor, it's like so many people, the reason why you see that, oh yeah, that makes sense, I'm good with that, don't need to say anything else, I'm gonna go to this next room. Because like you don't, it's all these people that are like, they think playing the game well means not showing your hand. But Victoria bringing like more of like the human aspect of it, and like more of like just like most of us, like she's like in grad school right now, so it's like your job as like just human beings is to be inquisitive, not just be told what to do, but understand why it is that someone's telling you, oh, this is the direction that we should go. Because if you just follow someone blindly, that's like a risk.
Yeah,
that's a big risk just in life in general. So I'm giving you life advice here for free, people. It's just like, you know, essentially it's saying don't be a sheep, like ask questions. But
it wasn't a question like we see Celestina last season in the first episode where she's like, okay, why are we going JM with everybody in the room? Like she's asking why Sean with like half the people and like trying to get answers.
And it was interesting too, like she was left with just John in the room and he was like, I don't know, that was just the name that was told to me. And she was like, okay, I don't believe that. I
love that because it was because he said Erik's the one who pushed the name when Erik's on Victoria's original tribe, and they just had a discussion earlier saying we need to stay tribe strong. So I love Victoria's just like, I'm not even gonna lie here, like I don't believe you. And John's just like, blah, blah, blah. No, you should believe me, it's just what I heard. John, the character that I love so much.
I love Jon Schneidman. He is one of my favorite
I definitely feel I probably would have had a similar feeling about John as Robbie did, but at the same time, I can also be someone who's like a little bit like just like a character, even though I do have the strategy. And John's similar. He has strategy behind what he's doing.
Oh, for sure.
But he's also just having fun. And that's what I would want to be doing, just having fun. So I feel like me and him would be very fun in a breakout room.
Yeah.
Not a lot of other people get talking space during that time. But I'm glad that we all brought those points up. But now the main point, because ultimately we see Sean go here 9-1. Obviously, he puts his
loyalty.
Hmm?
Loyalty. That's
loyalty.
The main point.
Sorry, you said it so fast. It sounded like you said royalty. I was like, okay. Okay. So yeah, loyalty, which it was like for Sean, who doesn't know much about the game. It's sort of like, I always say people who don't know much about these games almost surprisingly always end up having that old school mentality of Survivor, which is, we were placed on this original tribe. These are the people I need to be loyal to. That's what's best for me in order to go forward. We see it several times with other people who have played our games. Like that's the method that they go is, this is who I started with. For whatever reason that the production gods have given me these people, these are the people I'm going to have to rock with. And you do see with some of the people from original Damu, like Jordyn didn't like voting out Sean, but knew that she needed to for her game, but ultimately, why do we think it ended up being Sean? Because like everyone just seemed to have this big idea that, oh, Sean's a gamer. Like he's this big threat. Yeah. He has the idol, but like nothing from any of the conversations that we had outside of him just being a little bit quirky with like, oh, Jordyn, do you have the idol? That seems like a genuine reaction. She doesn't have it.
Yeah. And then just he didn't know how rocks worked. He audibly says, oh, that's how that happens. And then we get into after Robbie wins immunity, he's like, oh yeah, so Robbie can't vote, and so we have the majority or something like that with old pre-swap Damu. Yeah. And I'm like, I have to, because I'm in that scramble room, I have to come on to the microphone and be like, Sean, please, no, Robbie gets a vote. Don't.
Yeah.
So I don't know why they thought either that was like him dumbing down strategy or something, but that exit interview is hilarious and a blast. So if you want to really get into Sean's mind and how he was thinking during this game, go watch his exit interview.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a character. I very interesting person. But ultimately, this vote truly shows like who at this moment is holding the power, and that's Dennie, John, and Kylie. Because at least for this specific round, because they have Robbie and Alanis who want to work with them still and be like, tribe strong, because it means it's not them. Like Robbie knows it's not going to be him, but he also wants Alanis to be able to move forward with him.
Yep.
But they also have Erik and Michael pretty much on lock. So it goes like, okay, so out of the remaining people, we have Jordyn, Victoria, and Sean we could go for. Like we could go after Victoria, but maybe in the event that someone has something, like she is smart.
They keep saying every round that she is so smart, so smart. And then we get she's not playing. She's not a player.
We're getting to that.
Sorry.
But yes, but ultimately they end up going on Sean because like Robbie does mention like, well, she was the one that had votes placed on her. So that people may just assume we'll place votes on her again. If they have something, they'll play it on her if she doesn't play for herself. And then Sean goes.
Yep.
And ultimately, that's what we see. We get through tribal. We go for the motions. Sean goes out in a 9-1 vote. Sean is sort of like one of those people for me who I'm like, I wish he could have lasted longer so we could get more out of him.
Oh, I love him.
Carrie, what are your final thoughts on Sean?
He's a good one. I know. I don't understand why he went out. I don't get that. I wish.
And you were there. I wasn't there.
I know. I was there. I was very much there. But I didn't think he was a gamer. I just thought he was funny and he had no idea what was going on. He didn't know how to play Survivor at all. So don't know.
That's what you get with these games. You have seasoned orc players and you have Sean's of the world. But let's be real here. Sean outlasted all the people who truly had, outside of Robbie, pretty much, like all the people who had experience playing these games without knowing how Survivor works.
Yeah.
So, congrats to Sean. Like, that's not it's not easy to get through votes.
Yes.
So there's a reason why there's people who go out before the merge. Like, it's not easy to get to that point. So I give him his props for making the merge. He's our mayor of Ponderosa by chance.
Oh,
and he just
love
gets
it.
to hang out in Ponderosa.
Yeah, he gets to chill.
Sometimes Ponderosa is way more fun than the actual game. So good for him.
But yeah, with that, we are going to move on to episode 6. At least Lie to Me, which is a great title. It's probably my favorite title of the season so far.
Yeah, Robbie is just a gem when it comes to one-liners and things like that. So I knew when editing this episode and I heard that line, I needed to make that the title, because it's at least give him some name instead of just So if he did have something, it was clear to play it this round.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is a very funny thing that the only thing that people have been thinking about is if an idol is active. So and we can start with that subject, because we hear at Tribal there's a big discussion over, is there an idol? Did we just send you on a goose chase? There's nothing there. Nothing for you. There's nothing under the urn.
Yeah.
Call
back to Carlo.
Yeah, all that stuff. But
safety text.
Safety text.
No safety text here. It's not, we don't need safety. But no one's thinking maybe there's an extra vote, a steal a vote, a legacy advantage, a 50-50 coin. There's so many other things outside just an idol that it could be, but they all have this firm belief, and maybe it's just due to limited Survivor knowledge, or just you're in the moment. You're now 7 hours into a game. You're just it's just an idol. Don't think too hard about it. It's an idol. Someone for some reason has massive stones and is holding on to this thing when they really shouldn't be. And now I'm annoyed that they're not playing it. What's going on here?
It's because Landon went out with the extra vote. Oh no, it wasn't.
No, the steal a vote, extra vote.
No, hold on a second. What do I have?
Block a vote? Yeah, so at this point in the game, the only thing to at least the viewers' knowledge that went out was that T-Bird message that Erik solved for the legacy advantage. But what I'm thinking as players, if something else is out there, someone would have seen something, and maybe 2 people or what have you, and it would have gotten around. Did you see this? Don't tell anyone. Did you see this? Did you see this? So I don't know. I have a feeling if you're not seeing anything and nobody has any other information besides the T-Bird thing, that there's probably nothing else out there.
It's so unusual nowadays, though, for there to only be one thing going on,
But
I mean, there could always be a season where there's nothing.
We're in Africa, baby.
Well,
season 3 had nothing.
You're right. But we get into this episode now, and we get some people's thoughts. We get Jon, who's confirming what I was talking about, where it's Jon feels I'm sort of weirded out that there wasn't even a counter plan, but maybe that just means what we have rocking with me and Danny and Kylie and Michael and Erik is now solid. We are in full control of this. We are running this game. This helps us. There's no one to counter-strike us. We can just get the job done. Jordyn, which is sort of a funny little D plot of the episode, is convinced that she is the next person that everyone's going to be gunning for because she defended Sean briefly during a round.
Well, there's that, and so a little behind the scenes is Jordyn's video and her transferring from breakout to breakout room was at least like between leaving breakout rooms and entering the other one at least 2 minutes. So like she was having a hard time moving around from room to room. So like she would stay in one room for like a lot of the round. And then if she tried, I think it was at the end of this round, I believe, Danny wanted to pull her off into another room again because we saw him pull her off, and then Robbie and everybody decided to join them again. He pulled her off into another room, and then it was like a minute until tribal, and he was like, great, the person I want to talk to takes a minute to get into a room. So like she might have been thinking things like that because she was having a lot of Zoom issues.
Okay. Love Zoom issues, right? Like it's fantastic, especially Carrie, who has to like deal with people who leave the Zoom and then has to like go and do all the work to make them co-host again so that they can maneuver.
Speaking of Carrie and pulling people, these 2 episodes had some great moments of just like, all right, so this is what we're gonna.
My favorite reactions is John when someone gets pulled. It's like, oh, did they just get pulled? Oh my god.
There's also Danny had a really good one. I pull people like
Carrie's usually not in the rooms.
I'm usually not there. I have like a list that I follow before the round even starts. It's a list that I've made up, and I'm not pulling people on purpose. It just happens.
Yeah, for the most part, people like, just as context, because I do confessionals for a lot of these seasons, I will literally just text Carrie, send me somebody.
Yes,
and then it'll be
and I have
random.
a list that I go down that I change up every round.
It's very rare where I very specifically go, I want this person, or I want this person at this time, because like that way it's like the most fair. Because then it's like, oh, I'm not giving someone who's on the outs like extra time to work on people before coming into confessional, or I'm not pulling them directly into confessional where everyone can just establish right away, oh, they're the vote. It's just sort of like, okay, send me somebody and we'll see what happens.
Exactly.
But so that's Jordyn's story.
Little backstory on Jordyn.
Yeah. Michael is a big FU to tribe loyalty strategies. I'm going to be a little flipper, so I'm going to just maintain the flip. And then we have Robbie, who's just like, I feel like I'm very much on the outs right now. I feel me like sort of being sort of like a little brash with like how I did my strategy in this past round, sort of shot myself in the foot. But I'm hopeful that everything that I've said that's been a bold statement, I've kept what I've said and it's happened. So hopefully by me just being that bold person, that if I do that again this next round, if I don't win immunity, people will believe me. Obviously it doesn't work out for him because people weren't talking to him, but you know, that's sort of like, it's not a bad strategy. If like you're willing to make big bold statements and it comes out correct, they have no reason in this fast-paced game to believe that you're BSing them at that point. Because you'd be like, I said this happened. I said we were going to go to rocks. We went to rocks. I said I would not answer any of these questions. I did not answer any of these questions, and I won immunity for it. Like, if he just landed a bombshell and then be like, I have an idol, I am playing it this round, I think people buy it. And I think he lasts another round. But like, we hear him during his exit interviews, like, what's the point of me doing that if I'm just going to last to the next round and then I'll give it out then?
Yeah.
You know, so it's a trade-off. It's a big like risk of what ifs there. But let's talk about the immunity. Creed, with arms wide open.
So this was a challenge.
I'm not doing it in the voice.
Yeah, this was a challenge in Exile Island that Ian and Morgan made up. And so I went to Ian and I was just like, well, it's your challenge. what do you want to name it? And he's just like, let me think. And then he comes back with Creed, and I'm like, what? And he was like, with arms wide open.
Yes, and just like that, the challenges, you have 2 red solo cups face down, 2 ping pong ball on either one, arms stretched out in the T, and you maintain that pose as long as you can to prevent the balls from falling off the cups. If one of the balls fall off, you are out. A good endurance challenge. Sometimes we hope they don't go that long.
Yeah,
but
how long did this challenge last?
I don't think it was a crazy amount of time. Like,
It felt like it was forever when I was watching it being fast forwarded. I was like, gosh.
that's all I was about to ask.
it wasn't I want to say it was maybe max 25 max.
That's
Mhm.
kind of, I mean, I can't imagine holding my arms out for that long.
I don't know. Like it might have been less toward the 15, but like toward the 15-minute side of things, but like it wasn't as long as it may seem.
Okay, but an endurance challenge nonetheless. And so we go through it. We go through the motions. Ends up being Robbie and Erik at the end. Erik pulls it out. Erik wins individual immunity, but Robbie came in second. And that's going to be a talking point throughout the round.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I remember thinking back to this point. I remember thinking he should have absolutely thrown that challenge because he won the previous challenge and people were, a little bit sus of him at this point. And he either needed to win this next one or just completely throw it to try to get the target off of him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have a similar thing because like we hear Danny talk about that, and like it does make me wonder what he was thinking doing the challenge, because it made it almost sound like he was like, I'm not trying that hard in these because I want to bring down my threat level, which I think is smart from him, especially after he did a physical comp and won it.
And a mental comp and won it with Erik. I mean, he was the one being blindfolded.
Well, yeah, he was still,
it's still like following directions and like acute listening skills and stuff like that. So
like Danny definitely seems like more of a quiet type, but like it looks like from a viewer perspective, when he's able to get in a room with the people that he wants to talk to, he gets like his stuff in quick. He's very fast paced, so that it does like there's nothing else to go on. It's like, okay, this is what I'm thinking. I'm good with you. Do you want to do a final 2? Like, you're giving them no chance to even question it. Like, Erik's like, yeah, I'm down for that. So cool. I have a final 2 locked up. We have the final 5. We need a name. Robbie. Is it going to be Robbie this round? Yes. But we do see that first come up with Michael. Michael and Kylie are sort of like the ones I feel like that get the ball rolling, at least from a edit perspective on, okay, we're just confirming now. We're saying the name. It's Robbie this time. Because it sounds like the way that they are talking, he's been someone that a lot of people are looking at. Now's the time to do it. He hasn't won, but he did win immunity by not answering anything and then came in second in an endurance comp. But the logic now is very interesting. So like, I feel like now is the time to take out a strong player, but we can let Victoria and Jordyn, as long as we can take one of them out next. Because like they're not as threatening of players.
Just because you don't have the numbers and are on the bottom does not mean you're not threatening, or does not mean that you're not here to play the game.
Yes. It's just interesting because it really calls into question what people consider being like an active player or a threatening player or like a strategic player, social player, whatnot. Like, because like Michael's playing a social game right now. He's basing his decisions based off who he's feeling good with. He flipped his vote. That's the move that he can claim right now, is he switched his vote to take out Landon. And
then got really like tight with the old Maziwa people as well, because like they could flip again and just get Michael out.
Right.
But we see them go Sean, we see them go Robbie, because Michael here was the other name.
Mm-hmm. And Michael is the other name because in another room, we have Robbie and Alanis, and then it's like a hodgepodge of other people throughout.
Mm-hmm.
But throughout it, they're like, it originally was sounding like maybe John, but then they don't do it because Alanis doesn't want to go against her old tribe yet. And we finally get to hear more from Alanis this round. And I do like what she's thinking here, because she's just like, I think it's too early for us to take a shot, because if you base it off last round, you would think, oh, Maziwa's still all together. We're all still intact. Mm-hmm. Not knowing the knowledge that, oh, this new Damu formation is the real crux right now.
Yeah.
They're the ones holding what's going on. In her, I believe from her perspective, and, you know, she could tell us we're wrong, but her perspective is her and Robbie are still with them, and it should be 5 votes on Michael, and then she could potentially do something else, because she actually does want to bring all the girls together, even though it wasn't good enough when it was 6 people.
Oh, when it was so easy. When it was so easy to get the girls together.
And to be fair, Robbie gave her several outs there, because I think Robbie did know the writing was on the wall. Mm-hmm. No one's talking to him. No one's giving him a name. It's going to be him. And he's like, Lance, do you really believe we have 5 people right now voting Michael? It's like, yeah, I think I do. He's like, well, okay. But if you realize that it's me, because I think it's me, you can vote for me. Like, you can vote me out. I'm not putting your name down. I'm going to put Michael's down. But, like, you can vote me out. Mm-hmm. But we don't see that. And then we then have Jordyn come back now into this fold of which way to vote, because she doesn't really know anymore, because now this flip's happened. There's all this stuff that's going on. She's like, I feel Jordyn's starting to read the room. Jordyn's starting to realize this post-swap Damu is tight. Mm-hmm. And they now are targeting Robbie. They're not talking to Alanis, and they've been trying to pull in Victoria. So that would leave her out with them. So she's sort of just like, well, I can either vote Robbie out or hope that maybe there's some people lying and we get Michael out, and then we can figure something out. Because I think she was the one who was most on board to create this new voting block, this new alliance structure, because she was someone who felt she was on the outs.
Yes.
And I think that's a big driving force for it. So that's why I brought it up at the beginning of. So she feels she's on the outs. This gives her an opportunity. This gives her a window to be like, if it works, I have life in this game.
Mm-hmm. While editing, I honestly forgot she voted Michael this tribal council, and I was like, oh, she voted Michael? I was surprised that she did that. But one of the last rooms that she was in was that, like, with a majority number, was that room where Alanis was like, so Michael?
Yeah.
Where she didn't necessarily like it, but it was just like, it's not me, and it's not one of, anybody who I'm tightly aligned with. So
right.
Yeah, going into tribal, I had no idea what Jordyn was going to do at all. That was super exciting.
Yeah, so then we get into tribal. We already touched on it. A lot of it was just idle conversation. Someone has the advantage, but who has the advantage? People have their opinions on that. Jordyn's always I think the most vocal to be like, well, I know no one from the new Maziwa tribe had it, because we all knew we were going to Rocks and no one played anything.
That makes them so much logical sense. Like, yes. And then some people are still contradicting her about that. And it's like, are you kidding me? Like,
yeah,
would have liked that.
And I don't judge her for not answering Lauren's question when Lauren's trying to press for a name, but because you're still gonna be playing with these people. Mm-hmm. But essentially, she's just saying yeah, so none of us have it. There's 5 people remaining from New Damu. One of them most likely has it. Let's be real right now.
If only Erik was on New Maziwa, because he can't play that legacy advantage until 6. So
Right.
he still has the advantage.
Something tells me he's thrilled that he wasn't part of New Maziwa. I don't think he's someone who would have wanted to go to Rocks. But that's its own rabbit hole of what would have happened if we swapped him with like Sean or wherever, which I think would have been the only option there. That's an interesting try. But vote out. Robbie goes 8-3, 8 votes on him, 3 votes on Michael. He is the 6th person voted out, 2nd member of the jury. Big character, played hard, played fast and loose. Carrie, what are your final thoughts on Robbie and his game?
Robbie is an interesting player to me because like he's very, very talkative. And he says that he's like, I think I was too talkative in the beginning. And like sometimes that can work, right? And sometimes it really doesn't. And people are like, you're going to develop too many relationships. So this time it just didn't work for him, but he's cool to watch in the episodes. He gives really good confessionals. He's funny. He's a talker. And so it was sad to see him go that early.
McKenna, your final thoughts on Robbie?
Yeah, I'm honestly really sad that Robbie's gone because I was enjoying editing him into these episodes. But you know, we're looking forward to the future now and seeing who's left in this game and the future gameplay that is coming at us. So I'm excited to see what the next challenges are, even though I know them, and who wins immunities and how that shakes up the rest of the season.
Yeah, definitely. And we do see with these 2 votes, if you just go by old tribal lines, we see an old member of Damu and an old member of Maziwa voted out. It's an interesting pattern we're seeing so far this season. And the one thing I will say before we move on to my favorite part of the recap, the MVPs, Robbie mentions in his final words that he feels potentially him sort of revealing that he knew people in production was involved with things early in DCP's life. Could have been a reason why he was being targeted and go out. I just want to say this for all future players: knowing production,
have this cast
is not exactly. Y'all are like, oh, the audacity of him being, but like being involved in production, even it's just like Robbie wasn't part of the game. Like Robbie was doing an exit interview, or not exit. He's doing what we're doing right now, which is a recap. But knowing someone on production doesn't necessarily mean, oh, well, they're a threat. They know everything. They know everything about this person because they're friends. So,
oh yeah, we keep our game so tight. We have these ultra secret meetings. All of our Google Docs are encrypted. Like it's serious business over here.
You need to be a serious hacker.
Yeah, essentially, I'm just saying, if you know someone who's playing the game is like knows someone from production, is friends with people on production, that does not mean they necessarily need to be a target. Do what's best for your game. But I don't like seeing when that's the strategy or like a reason used to put someone out, because that's sort of, these games are unfair, but like using that as like a driving factor, I feel is sort of unfair just because it's like not something that they can control.
I know. And a lot of people, I mean, the way this like whole community works, a lot of people know it's just like a web, right? Like everybody knows everybody.
It's incestual. Yeah.
Yes. So like, yeah, knowing production isn't an advantage. It's like, because it is really hard to get females in this, like Robbie is a male, and he knows production, but like 3 females on this season knew production. And it's rather impossible to find females. So we reach out sometimes to our friend pool of like, hey, do you want to play this game? To try and get more new and fresh faces and female faces into these games.
I mean, we saw how well Caroline did.
All right. I'm gonna tell her you said that.
I'm squashing this right now because we're moving forward. We're moving forward from it. Sorry to Caroline, but we're moving on to the MVPs for episodes 5 and 6. We know how this goes. Each of us get to pick an MVP for the week. And because I know that she hates doing them, McKenna, you can pick first.
God damn it, I knew you were coming to me first. I gotta go with my boy Jon. He's getting my MVP pick this week. I think he is doing a great job with trying to rope in Victoria just to have maybe a safety net somewhere else. He also has a fish tank in his background, like, hey. But no, I just, he's a great character, and he's got that strategy that's like, I want to play this game. Let's get this moving. And he's in that swing alliance group of Kylie and Danny and himself. So I think has himself set up rather well for being a talker in this game.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very solid pick. Jon's a fun character to watch. Has obviously strategy involved. But Carrie, who was your favorite player this week?
I am going to go Jordyn. This might
because
be
she has a dog.
Yes.
We see her dog enter the screen for the Creed challenge.
I heard her dog barking. I never saw the dog, but I know it exists. Now I feel like this might be a hot take because she did vote in the minority. However, I think that she made some smart moves because she is feeling a little bit vulnerable with her internet connection. And so she's not afraid to throw out a name. So we heard her initially throw out Jon's name, saying, I think he has an idol. And then she was willing to vote Michael, trying to, create a new pathway for herself. Whether that works in the future or not is a different story. But I also think she was really smart with what she said at Tribal about, whether there could be an idol in the game still. So anywho, I feel like she's being very smart right now and is trying to make a way for herself. And sorry, Millie just barked.
Speaking of dogs.
She's in bed right now. But anyways, she's trying to make a way for herself. Not sure if that's going to work for her. I guess we'll find out next week.
That's a very interesting pick. I love interesting picks. So thank you for providing that for us, Carrie.
Yeah.
Now it's my turn, and I've been going back and forth while I was rewatching these episodes between two specific people. They're the people who I feel are truly in control of this new Damu, which is Danny and Kylie. And I almost feel like I need to spread the wealth here because I gave Kylie one last week. So I think I'm going to give it to Danny here. I just like the insight that he had in these episodes. Both of them are in great spots because no one's saying their names. But we got to see a little more activity from him this week.
Yes.
Creating a final two with Erik. Just maintaining these relationships and getting to the point fast and quick instead of just hemming and hawing through it. So for those reasons, I'm going to give it to Danny this week. So we get 3 new people on the board. A lot of people tied with one MVP with Erik, Michael, Danny, Jon, Jordyn, Robbie, and Maddie. And in first place still with 2 MVPs is Kylie. That's our MVPs for the week. And that wraps up this week's recaps of episodes 5 and 6 of DCP's Survivor Sahara Dunes. McKenna, tell them where they can find us.
Oh, you can find us everywhere at DCP_org. We are also posting on TikTok. We have secret scenes from these episodes that they'll be posted on TikTok and also on Instagram. So please follow us, DCP_org. If you want little insight to some of these episodes where, I might try and make a vote more hidden, but give you some information in those secret scenes of the castaways talking more in depth about the votes.
That's awesome to hear. Please follow those. You'll see those handles again at the end of this video. But also make sure you join our Facebook page, Dynamic Character Productions. That's where you will see when we upload new videos, as well as post polls. And when we have exit interviews, you'll have the opportunity to ask questions to the people that have just been voted out, and they will be read. And provide a good, entertaining exit interview. And we love discourse. We love conversation. So please reach out to any of us if you want to be more involved or spark some conversation about the season. We would love to see it. We're all ears. As well as you're watching this video right now. I don't know why you haven't done it. And if you haven't, click subscribe. Press that thumbs up so that YouTube can see that you loved this video, and click that bell for all notifications so you know when all of our latest videos have dropped as soon as they have. But with that, I'm Alex Trias. That's Carrie Underwood. That's McKenna Feeney. We are Dynamic Character Productions, and we will see you next time.